Today we are going to save over $1,000, much more even, on a high-performance plotter with AIS for our boat, the Raspberry episode you have all asked for. Greetings sailors, and welcome to a new episode of the Low Cost Sailor. In today's episode, and after many requests, we are going to talk about how to install the famous Raspberry with Open Plotter on our boat, because you have asked us in the comments many times and because we pay much attention to the comments, so please comment. Basically what we are going to put is a brain on our boat, like the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, or better yet, like Frankenstein. What was that? Is it coming up a storm or what? Well, you know, if it's approaching stormy bad sea, bar for me. Well, our ship has already received various additions that give it the ability to sense its surroundings. This includes sight, achieved through the use of an additional camera. We have also installed sensors to detect floods or open doors. Furthermore, we have incorporated an interior surveillance camera that not only allows us to see but also hear what is happening within the ship. All of these components will be connected to form a central unit, the brain of our boat, which will be powered by a Raspberry Pi. And it will offer us many things, including serving as a plotter super economical, but also will be the junction point of all the electronics that we already have in our boat, so that we can consult everything from it, or from the mobile or tablet, even the boats around us, thanks to the AIS receiver that we will mount on it in a very economical way. Well, you will see the possibilities, which will undoubtedly give for more than one episode. Some of you may have already heard of the Raspberry Pi or the Open Plotter. For others, it will be a somewhat hidden term and you will not be very clear about what I'm talking about. So let's start with the Raspberry Pi. Let's start with the Raspberry Pi. Well, Raspberry Pi is basically a very small and very cheap computer, but not that little powerful, so tiny like this and very cheap. For example, the Raspberry Pi that we are going to use costs about $35 for a complete computer, with its outputs, its network connections, its USB. As it is such a cheap computer, a multitude of projects have arisen to do all kinds of things with it, from turning it into a smart TV or making a retro console like the one in the arcades. Lots of things. It's already Wednesday. This week we are going to be in a hurry, so I'm going to call Carlos for a moment to see how he is doing with the edition.
What is it?
Carlos, how are you doing with the editing? We won't make it this week if you don't hurry up a bit.
Well, I'm having a few problems, but making progress. Don't worry, we'll get there on time to release the video.
I trust you blindly that you are devoting all your efforts to this.
Yes, I'm really working hard on it.
Well, come on, see you. Okay, bye. Lots of things. Until, as in our case, one day someone thought it would be a good addition to install on a boat. And from there came the other great term of our basic concepts, Open Plotter. Open Plotter is nothing more than an operating system, like Windows or Android. But in this case, a version of Linux designed specifically to run on the Raspberry Pi, and that unites a lot of utilities and super useful programs for boaters. Well, that's what's really interesting. With the Raspberry Pi, Open Plotter, and some additional accessories, we will be able to do lots of things. The first thing is that plugging a USB GPS, we will be able to use it as a plotter for our boat. A very powerful plotter that will have nothing to envy to Raymarine or B&G equipment of many thousands of dollars. But it is going to be much more versatile than them because, for example, with a television tuner of €12, we will be able to convert it into an AIS receiver to see in real time the big ships around us with their courses and speeds. And that's not all, because we can download the weather information with forecasts, superimpose it on the maps of our plotter, or connect the other instruments we already have available on the boat, such as the sounder or wind equipment, and see all that information unified on your screen, the screen we get by connecting it. Or better yet, through Wi-Fi, we will have all that data available on our tablet or mobile. Even he himself is able to make Wi-Fi access point. Isn't it cool? Not to mention the fact that we can also use it to view our cameras on a TV or screen. So, a lot of things that will give for many more than one episode. But today we are going to start with the simple. We are going to make a kind of open plotter for clumsy people, or rather the first steps with open plotter. So, well, of all the options that we have seen before that are possible, today we will start with something simple. We will mount our Raspberry Pi as a plotter with AIS to see our position on the map and all the ships that are surrounding us. We will also explore two different ways to install the system, either without a screen or connected to the boat's TV, like the one I have on mine that is right behind me. Alternatively, we have the option of a self-contained setup with an all-in-one unit that includes a built-in touchscreen. Today, Carlos is in luck, because not only will he have the screen in front of him, but this all-in-one option will be installed in his 6-meter motorboat.
Yoo-hoo!
Let's go shopping. Regardless of which option we choose, there are a number of common things we will need. First and foremost, the Raspberry Pi. You can choose to buy the 3B version or the new and much more powerful 4 or 5 version. I'm going to do it with version 3B, which is the cheapest and is the one I have installed. And anyway, as I'm only going to give it to Carlos, I'm not going to spend money that is for him, not for me. But you can opt for version 4 or 5 and it will be much more powerful, about 10 times more powerful. We will also need a 32GB memory card, where we will install our open plotter. You could use a smaller one, but I recommend the 32GB card to fit a lot of charts. A USB GPS, which will allow us to use it as a plotter. A USB TV tuner with the RTL2832U chipset. This is the bomb. That tuner will allow us to receive signals basically on any frequency. And thanks to it, with the appropriate software, we will receive the signals of the AIS system, of the ships that surround us, those that have it enabled. At the moment, it is only mandatory on merchant ships, passenger ships and some others, but every day, it is seen more and more on pleasure boats. How are we going to feed it from the batteries of our boat? Well, the classic that we always put in our inventions, cigarette lighter connector, USB charger 5 volts and 2 amps, or an all-in-one of those that is a USB connector that goes directly to the battery and a micro USB cable to plug the Raspberry Pi. Finally, depending on whether we already have a monitor on the boat, a TV, a plotter with an auxiliary input or something similar, we will choose between simply take a box where to put the Raspberry Pi and an HDMI cable to connect it to the TV, which is how I have it. And I also recommend a mini keyboard with mouse like this, of this style, which will allow you both during installation to use it for installation and then if you have it connected to the TV to handle it with him. Or the other option is a box with touchscreen that, depending on whether you take the Raspberry Pi 3 or 4, you have several options that I put down here in the description of the video. And if you have questions, you can ask me in the comments. That is always a good place to leave any comments, and that we value them much, almost as much as YouTube when it comes to positioning. Feed the algorithm. Well, either of the two mounting options will be very simple, and regardless of which of the two we use, the installation and commissioning will be identical. Let's get started. Well, either mounting option is going to be very simple, and regardless of which one we use, the installation and startup will be identical. In my case, I'm using the 3B version, but you can use either the 4 or 5 version. In our option, what we have is, we got our Raspberry Pi. In our case, the 3, but if it is the 4 or 5, you are not going to see big differences. This will be our Raspberry Pi. This one has an HDMI output that for the first option, that is to mount it as I have it, it will be the one that we will use. Basically, we will need a box. This is printed in 3D, but I am going to put links to boxes that you can buy directly. Basically, what goes is the Raspberry Pi placed here with its screws and the cover. You will also see that there are options of heat sinks and fans to put here. With this, we would already have the Raspberry Pi. This is where we will put our 32GB memory card. But we are going to do this at the end because we will see later in the assembly how to fill this card with interesting things to use. Once we have it plugged in, what we're going to need is, in the case of our setup, well, what we'll have is our cigarette lighter connector that will go to the boat's battery. Connected to that is a cigarette lighter to USB adapter, and connected to that is a mini HDMI to USB cable. This will be connected here, and this will be connected here. during the assembly and installation. I will put in the link a box that I have not tried, but it looks very good. I think it is worth $15 or something like that, and it is like this but with a touch screen here, so you can also see it here. If not, we need during the installation to see what is happening, and for this, with an HDMI cable, connect our Raspberry to the TV. If what you have is the Raspberry Pi 4, you will need a mini HDMI cable or an adapter like this one that converts from HDMI, and in that case you have up to 2 outputs. Apart from this, what we are going to want is to connect several things more. First, our GPS. You will see one in the links, a little more modern and cheaper. I recycled this one because you cannot imagine where it will have come from. After all, it is any USB GPS that we will connect it to one of the USB ports. And the other thing that we are going to connect is our television tuner. We have 3 different models. This one is the most basic, which is probably the one that Carlos will use. This one that is like the most pro that we go, that this one costs $5 and this one costs $14. And this one is one of the most popular. It's the one I have in mind. That's why you see it so dirty. It's probably the one I like the most. If we start from this one, the other one we will use in Carlos's installation. This one, what we would do is we would install it here to another one of our USB, and then we would already have our Raspberry Pi with our external GPS connected and our TV tuner. And to the TV tuner, we would only have to put a TV antenna, which in the case of this one already comes with a built-in one. You can simply use this one. With this, you are going to be able to see ships that are more or less 3 or 4 miles away. You will also see, if we focus a little bit on the installation that I have set up, that what I have set up is a converter, and what I have connected by using a switch is the antenna of the masthead radio. So I can see boats up to 10 or 12 miles. Well, this is one of the options. We're going to do a cleanup and we're going to go to the other option. The other option is a bit of an all-in-one, which is composed of a touch screen with its controller that connects to the Raspberry Pi via a flat cable, which also comes with the screen. You have all the links in the description, and a housing in which we are going to put everything. It comes with all the screws and very clear instructions. It goes its controller, then it goes the Raspberry Pi strap to it. This is where we're going to put the card in the side, just like the other Raspberry Pi. It is best to do it before finishing closing the box, because otherwise it is a little difficult, and then simply close the case. As an option, you can plug a USB GPS, or in my case, to make it more compact for Carlos, I have chosen a serial GPS that I have connected directly to the Raspberry Pi, but the easiest is the USB GPS. And then simply what we're going to do for Carlos is this setup like this. We're going to have our cigarette lighter connector. You have over here the HDMI, because you could use the touch screen and at the same time have another external display. The antenna for our GPS that we've put here, which could be the USB that you see in the links, which is much easier to connect, that you just put it to the USB. And then this is where we're going to connect the power instead of on the side, because this is going to power both the display and the Raspberry Pi. What we're going to have to do is connect our power here. This is going to go to the cigarette lighter connector, and now the only thing we're going to add is this tuner, which is the cheapest one. This is going to go here. You can use the more expensive one as well, or any of them, and we're going to make it very compact, because as you'll see later when we see it on the boat, because it's going to go all installed in a hole. Basically, this will look like this. This one will stick it here to this other side here in the middle, and then we're going to have a compact piece of equipment like this, where we'll have our touch screen, our Raspberry with our GPS, and our TV tuner. This is kind of the setup part. Regardless of whichever of the 2 options we choose, we're going to see how it would set up. So let's go through the setup. To get started with setting up the Open Plotter system on our memory card, we need to download some applications from our home computer. The complete instructions can be found on the openmarine.net website, but let's go through the process here as well. First, navigate to the mentioned website and choose the download option. From there, select the basic version and download the Open Plotter starting zip file. Remember, there's no need to unzip this file. Simply save it to your computer. Next, on the same download page, you'll find an option labeled Installing. Click on it and download the Raspberry Pi imager. If your computer has a built-in card reader, you won't require anything else. However, if you don't have one, you can find a USB card reader for a very affordable price of $3 in the provided links. Next, plug the memory card into your computer and launch the Raspberry Pi imager. Choose the Choose OS option and follow instructions. These steps should help you get your Open Plotter system up and running. Watch the openmarine.net website for further assistance. We choose Custom, we select the zip file, the file that we have downloaded. In Choose SD card, we select the drive letter where our memory card is. We press Write, and after a few minutes, when it has already finished writing the card, We will have everything basically ready to start the process already in our Raspberry Pi. Now it's all a matter of putting the card in the Raspberry Pi, plug it in to start the configuration process. We're going to start with the first part. In other episodes we'll go into more things, but today we're going to do some simple things. The first thing we are going to see is how to use it as a plotter for our boat, thanks to the GPS USB that we have installed. With that, what we're going to see is about nautical charts, where we are at all times and where we're moving to. Well, the first thing, once we have the card already loaded, what we are going to do is to insert it. If we have chosen the touchscreen option, we will have to pick it up and mount it, but well, we are not going to go into too much detail on that. And once the card is inserted, we will simply turn it on for the first time, plugging in the power cable. If you have opted for the touch screen, you will probably have the screen upside down. You can simply turn it, but to turn it by software and keep it that way forever, you just have to run the following commands. It is a matter of modifying the config.txt file, add one more line in which we put LCD rotate, equal to, save it, and restart. And we will see the screen rotated correctly. At this point we will see the wizard. Basically, it is to choose our country, our language, our time zone. I have selected the English keyboard because the small keyboard that we have bought is in English. Also, we changed the password for a more secure one. The next step is to choose how to connect to the internet, which we will need for the whole update and configuration process, but it is not strictly necessary afterwards. Once we have our internet connection, we will simply run the updates. It will take a while, and they will be executed through the connection we have made with the Wi-Fi, or if we have connected an Ethernet cable through there. Any of the two options is perfectly valid to connect it. Already with the updates completed, we will simply restart and we will be able to begin with the configuration process of our GPS. The first thing to do is simply plug it into the USB. We will go serial. A new device will appear, we will choose him, and simply we will have to assign an alias to him so that it always remembers him in the same position. We will choose NEMIA 0183 and we will give it a name, for example GPS. Now we simply go to connections. There we will choose to add this device to the GPS demo, to the GPSD. We will choose auto simply, and it will be configured. And to check it, we will open the OpenCPN that will be our plotter, and we will verify that it already places us through the GPS in the position in which we are. You will have noticed that the map really lacks a little resolution, for that we will have to complete it with the nautical charts of our zone. There are multiple sources of nautical charts, as you can see in the OpenCPN page, or you can even generate your own, buy them or obtain them as you see fit. Once we already have our nautical charts, we will simply copy them through a USB stick in our Raspberry. With the charts already on the USB stick, we will simply create a folder on the Raspberry where we will leave all our charts and copy all the ones we have on the stick. Once copied, installing them will be very simple. We will open the OpenCPN, we will go to configuration, choose cards and add a folder. Simply choose the folder we have selected. I click on apply and it will update all the available charts, and with that we will start to see the map with much more resolution. Now it is the AIS turn. To make our receiver, we will simply plug our TV tuner and plug the antenna into a USB port. At the moment we will use the antenna that comes with it, and now it will be a matter of configuring it. Simply in Open Plotter settings, we will enable the SDR VHF plugin. Click refresh. Click on it, click install, accept, and with this we have it installed. Now we will have a new application in the Open Plotter menu called SDR VHF. Open it and let's start with the calibration. The first thing to do is to select our card and give initial ppm. From here we will have two values. The maximum gain, which in this case is 49.6, and after leaving this running for at least half an hour, we will get a stable value of cumulative ppm that we will have to write down. Fill in the ppm obtained on your site. Fill in also the gain in its place. And now we are going to start with the fine-tuning that we will do through the GSM network in Europe. We choose get channel, and with that we are going to wait for it to go through all the channels, and we will keep the channel number that has more power. In our case it has been 2, so we will fill it in the channel box and give get ppm, which will be our final calibration. After a while, we will get the result. We will write down the value that we have obtained, 72.64. That rounded 73 is the value we are going to use as the ppm. We simply write it down, press change and close. With all these values, we click on AIS and press edit. In our interface, we will write down the values that we had checked. That will be our rounded ppm and the gain, which was the maximum gain that we had obtained, which was 49.6. We press save. We go to processes. We check AIS and click on start. With this, we already have our AIS working in our small plotter. We will be able to observe that we are surrounded by ships. It will depend a little of the ships that we have around and of the quality of our antenna. In yellow, we see the different ships that are surrounding us and will be in yellow until they send the identification message, which become green, and we have all the data of each of the ships that are surrounding. And of course, if you listen to us and set up the Wi-Fi on your boat, you will also be able to see all this information. You can also see all this information on your tablet or your cell phone easily. We can tell you how to set it up, but you will have to wait for the tablet episode or ask us in the comments. Carlos tells me that this episode is getting too long. And we've got it up and running. You know that if you got this far, at least you already have all the pieces to connect to the mobile or tablet, and the rest will be a matter of configuration without further ado. So you will not have to buy more things to do. Well, and it's almost done, because now we are going to see it in Carlos's boat before he kills me, and how happy his father is going to be when he sees it. I'll call him right now. Look at all the things I've brought you to install in the Trastolillo.
Let's see. I'm going to sail in the traditional way.
In the past, having a boat with the latest in navigation technology was a matter of spending a lot of money, and it was not affordable for everyone. The equipment is expensive. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's expensive, and that costs a lot of money. Now, thanks to the Raspberry Pi and the Open Plotter, you will be able to enjoy all those features for a super cheap price. Either by mounting it on a small boat like this one and have it as the main plotter, or as in the case of my boat, which is like the nerve center of all the electronics of the boat and gathers all the data. It will be worth it to dare to play with it. It may seem a bit complicated at first, but there are lots of tutorials, lots of help, and above all you have this magnificent video where you can go over it and access all the information you need to get it up and running. Also take advantage now that we are very accessible, that you can ask us questions in the comments, that we respond quickly, because you will see when we have, instead of 3,000, 10,000 or 100,000 followers, it will cost us a little more to respond to all comments. Besides, who knows if we won't be living in Andorra by then.
But Andorra has no sea, right?
Well, it's clear that we're not good enough to be successful YouTubers. Well, maybe it's not in Andorra. Thanks for your attention, sailors. We hope you liked this week's video. If you liked it, then you can give us a like, subscribe to the channel, or hit the little bell.
Well, don't listen to this man. Don't pay attention to this man who comes here giving you explanations, because he will be a lot of technology and I don't know what. You have to navigate in the old way, as we used to sail in the old days. Thanks for your attention, sailors. Press like, subscribe to the channel, and all the things that say these who come out here below, and so you will be up to date with everything. See you in the next episode of The Low Cost Sailor.